is AYP.
We have an update on AYP. We did discuss this at our retreat when we did the assessment reports. I can go over this briefly, but I'm unsure if anyone has any specific questions before I start. Okay. As you know, AYP means adequate yearly progress, and it is based on our NECAP results, which is our state assessment. Each year, the state sets a target for school districts to achieve based upon their results. In math this year, it was 88, and in reading, it was 91. Our scores are looked at in terms of whole school performance and then subgroup performance. As a whole school, you can see if you look at the chart that each one of our schools as a whole school well exceeded the target. For instance, in reading, the target was 91, and Underhill achieved a 95.9, Memorial 94.1, Colley 94.9, and the same exists in math. In the area of some of our subgroups, we did not achieve our target. So at Underhill, they made AYP both as a whole school and every subgroup. Memorial made AYP as a whole school, and one of our subgroups did not make AYP. The same is true for Colley. So I don't know if you have any questions about that. What we then do, and I see the back of the report was not copied, but I remember what was on it, so I can tell you. Each school then does have what they call a CINI plan, and it's a school in need of improvement plan. And so we look at what our gap is between the performance of the whole school and the performance of that one subgroup. And each school has developed a team, and they have worked to create a plan to assist that particular subgroup in making increased achievement. Tricia.
I just like
Sure.
piggyback with you.
You certainly can.
It's scary for us at the beginning of the year because we follow the rules. And if you don't make AYP, you're supposed to send out a letter. We do. Not everybody does. And it's scary when we send out that letter. And so it's important to pick up on a couple of things that Marge said. One is, without exception, as a school, your schools did make AYP. Not only did they make it, but they exceeded
the
targets without exception. We're very proud of that. It's kind of like you scratch your head. How can I be a school in need of improvement when exceeding expectations? That's why it's broken. I need to clear up a couple of things. I've talked a couple of times at board meetings about a waiver of No Child Left Behind. I think mistakenly some people think that that's my waiver. I don't have the ability to request a waiver. It's the state of New Hampshire that's requesting a waiver from No Child Left Behind. 37 states have been granted waivers. There's another 30 states being waited to have them approved. And virtually every other state has, that was a little joke, just trying to see if the audience is awake. The issue is this. The means of calculating whether a subgroup met AYP or not is broken. The U.S. Department of Education realizes it's broken. Some of us knew it was broken 10 years ago and that it would haunt us in the 10th year of No Child Left Behind. As a result of it being broken, Marge, just so that we haven't cooked this up, do you know what percentage of schools in the state of New Hampshire did not make AYP?
It's a large percentage. I thought it was in the 70%.
78%. So 4 out of 5 schools didn't make it, even though a vast number of those schools as a school did very well. So number one, the performance of your kids, our kids, is quite good. The youngsters in those subgroups, we do not give up on and offer no excuses for that subgroup, whether the method of calculating AYP is broken or not. As long as it's there, we will try our best. The waiver is a state waiver. I think we're going to talk about that at an upcoming board meeting. And states are being invited by the Secretary of Education to submit those waivers. What we have in place of No Child Left Behind will be Common Core compliant, and it's going to be called College and Career Ready. The political reason why it's happening there is the president can't get an educational reform bill through Congress. So rather than reauthorizing NCLB, USDOE is taking waiver requests, and they will all be granted.
I have a number of questions. In the new rule, new guidelines and the new test that we're going to be taking, is the issue being addressed of children who are educationally disadvantaged being set up? And when I say that, I'm going to be very honest with all of you. I have a 5th grader who reads approximately mid-2nd grade, and he works every single day to get better. And we put a test in front of him for 3 days that he can't read, and we ask him to answer the questions. And then a week later, we give him a math test that we let someone read to him, and he does adequate. I mean, he's not at grade level, but he has an identified learning disability, and we torture those children. That's what October is in my house. It's torture, and I pray his behavior doesn't go out of control for a month after. So I guess I want to know, I guess I'm asking for reassurance of that parent that that might be addressed, and if it isn't, how do we, as a school board and as educators, help fix that?
Tricia, that's a serious issue.
Yes, it is.
That's a serious issue. I'm not even going to make a joke about it. I was going to say, like, Arnie Duncan didn't call me and ask me for advice. That's the Secretary of Education. But it's not funny. The assessment, you know, before I came here, I was the superintendent of an urban school district.
Yes.
And the majority of my kids were poor minorities who didn't speak English and came in, and in Massachusetts took the MCAS, which is a test similar to NECAP. They couldn't even speak the language and had to take it. How unfair was that to them? How unfair is the cultural bias in these tests and the economic bias in these tests? And then the alternate assessments that were supposed to, the ultimate, I'm getting passionate and I can't speak. The alternate assessments, which when NCLB was envisioned were supposed to be developed, were never developed. And when they were developed, in some cases, correct me if I'm wrong, the kids automatically failed. Hello? we've seen, and I'm going to report to you at an upcoming meeting, what the waiver is going to attempt to do, although the waiver isn't finished yet. Marge and I went to a workshop this past week, a very different type of workshop, it's really quite bad, on the new test. I didn't walk away with a great understanding, but I'm sure it was me because I'm in that subgroup. We do know that the commissioner is predisposed to replacing AYP with a growth model where, and I don't know how this is going to work logistically, how you go about doing the calculation, but we would be more interested in how much growth every youngster has made than in what the absolute achievement level is at any given point in time. So the idea would be, if we have a youngster in school for a year, that youngster should grow a year. And where youngsters are not meeting standards, our goal should be to help them to grow more than a year. So we have a sense that that's how this is going to be, this is what it's going to be replaced by. The Smarter Balanced test, which is going to replace the kneecap, is an interesting test. It's more aligned with the Common Core. So you're going to have youngsters taking it for the first time who have only been exposed to the Common Core for a year. And it's a computerized test. I mean, youngsters are going to have to sit in front of a computer or an iPad or some device to take the test, which is interesting for some kids. So we have some concerns out of the gate about what's going to replace things, specifically for youngsters in subgroups where they are disadvantaged one way or the other, and whether that disadvantage will be exacerbated by what we're doing. And sadly, there's not a lot of compassion for kids. In the people who write regulations, there's not a lot of compassion, in my opinion.
Anything else on AYP?